I also want to talk about film with you.
Yes.
And the James Bond experience.
Yes.
So
How fun was that?
you tell us. You tell us.
Yeah, I got picked off the center court at Wimbledon to do a screen test way back when. And the Broccolis were watching me play, and they had tested over several hundred people for the role. They didn't fail. They came up with the right person. They asked if I would do a screen test. And I said to myself, you know what? Who can say they worked at Pinewood Studios in the morning and played at Wimbledon in the afternoon?
Not many.
So I did it for a laugh. They loved it. They signed me for 14 weeks. I did the picture. It was one of the most fun things I ever did. And after the Bond picture, I did a Star Trek movie. I did a television series of my own, the first on American television, both a sitcom as well as an action comedy. And there were a lot of us in that industry as well. And it was a true eye-opener for me as to how movies are actually made and what goes into it to create 1 minute of film.
Yes, a lot goes into creating 1 minute of film. So if not tennis, do you think that perhaps this could have been the second leg of your career?
Well, the great legendary Amitabh Bachchan and I talked about it, so he posted a fantastic story the other day where he was mistaken for me, and he tells the story so well. He tells it better than I do. But great guy. I love the guy, and but I think the simple thing is that I love the world of make-believe. The great thing about movie making is that you get yourself immersed into another character. And the question is, how well can you do it? How well can you play it? And that's why when you do pictures of other people, whether it's Meryl Streep playing Margaret Thatcher, or so on and so forth, it's just awesome when you look back at the reality of the situation and see.
Who would Vijay Amritraj like to play?
Who would I like to play?
Yes.
Oh,
which character would you like to get into?
Gosh, it's hard to pick a character to do it, but lots of movies that great people that have been played, whether it's all the way back with Kingsley playing Gandhi to Morgan Freeman playing Mandela. And I don't know if you saw the movie Invictus, another one of my favorite pictures, where in fact Mandela says specifically, all of us have to exceed our own expectations to make South Africa great. And I think that goes the same for the world where we live in today, and the issues that we've had in the world. I think all of us as individuals have to exceed our own expectations to make humanity work. So if you look at the way that these people make a difference, whether it was Martin Luther King, whether it's Mahatma Gandhi, whether it's so many great individuals who come out of India that have made such a difference to the way we think, and Tagore, and just a whole slew of them. You know how difficult it must be to play them, to get into their heads, to be able to think what they were thinking?
Okay, easier question. Who would you like to play you?
Good one. Good one. The easiest answer would probably be one of my sons.
Yeah.
Because they know me through and through. And you really need to know the person, and it's very hard to learn so much about the person. And how do you do it? And I always felt that. And when you see these great movies that were made for Ford versus Ferrari, and the inner fights that they would be having with playing those characters, which is why for me Meryl Streep is magic, just magic.
Yeah.
I mean, she can get in and out of other people in her head and heart in a way that I've never seen anyone else do it.
Well, back to cricket.
Yes.
And you talked about the disappointment of not seeing anyone break into the top 10. Do you believe that we're anywhere closer to being able to find the next big Indian hope as far as tennis is concerned?
I think it's fair to say that we have fallen back to some extent, because we used to be clearly the #1 country in Asia, and we're not now. When I played tournaments in the old days, people were disappointed when I didn't win the tournament. And today we don't have one who is in the tournament. So we've lost a lot of that cachet at the moment, and I think we have to restart that to be able to get back to where we think we should be. India being in Group 2 in a Davis Cup match, I think is not something that we can look at and say we're a tennis country. We can't do that. We need to be able to get back to Group 1, then we have to get back in the World Group. We belong as a country in the World Group, and we have a long way to go before we get there.
So, the greatest of all times?
In tennis? Well, I played through several generations.
Yes.
And so if you go back and you look at records, obviously, you know, the great Rod Laver won the 2 Grand Slams. He's the only one who won 2 Grand Slams. And I was fortunate to play against him, and so on and so forth, all the way. I did. I've had several wins against him. But you're coming back to today's environment of where we've seen these big three win so much. To imagine that those 3 guys won as much as they did in the Grand Slams, and they all played in the same era, is hard for me to get my arms around. And having been in that sport for 25 years, you know. So I think when you look at it, I'm just happy to say, like we saw in that movie Troy, I'm glad I lived during the time of Achilles.
Yes, but the memory that you have of a match that you played that has been an everlasting one, that's taught you not just about tennis, but it's taught you left you with a life lesson, perhaps.
Yes, several of them. Obviously, the one I've talked about a lot about Davis Cup and things, and there was one match against Argentina, which is very specific. But again, if I had to pick 3 matches that sort of told the story of my life and what it meant, the first would have been winning a major college tournament in southern India as a schoolboy. And I was 13 and a half, and the guy I beat in the final was 19 at medical college. And it was the middle of May, summer in Chennai, and we were playing best of 5 sets. And I lost the first 2 and came back to win in 5. And the next day, there was the ugliest picture of me in the newspaper. And we still have that. That was the first one. The second one was when after injuries, I ended up winning the National Championships of India for the first time. And it was a memorable weekend in Calcutta during the Christmas of 1972. And singles and doubles over 2 days, 19 sets in 2 days at the age of 18. And that made me the best in India and then the best in Asia. And then following year, beating Laver on the center court at the US Open, live on CBS, which nobody had seen this Indian guy come from nowhere to put India on the map. And that put me on the international map. And it put India on the international map in the Open era. And I think what it did was it just brought Indians closer and closer and closer together as I traveled the world for the next 20 years, playing at the highest level of sport. So for me, it has been a journey that is not, has transcended tennis, of course, but more than anything else, it put me there for a purpose. And I hope I lived up to it.
Well, you're in the Tennis Hall of Fame. You've done much more than just living up to that, Mr. Amritraj. But let me end by asking you, and I think this is important for everybody who's watching, and especially young athletes who are probably looking at building a professional career for themselves. Resilience. You know, how do you build it? Where do you find it? What's the mantra for you?
Well, over a period of time, it comes from within. I think there's something that we all have that we have to find. And everyone is talented in something. Everyone has an inbuilt resilience in them and a determination, a dedication, a discipline, a desire that is burning in there, and we just have to find it. Male, female, young or old, it doesn't matter, and you can find it at any time. And strangely, you find it in the weirdest forms, and you find it at a time when you least expect it. And these are the ones that you truly have to grasp and hold on to and make it work for you. And in sport, again, it's black and white. In real life, it's difficult. When you hit those moments and you have to go back in your inner self. For me, it was always when they told my mother she couldn't do something, she did it. And it always remained in me, and it has always remained with me today, and hopefully some part of it has gone on to my boys. And so when we look at ourselves and we say, somebody says can't, I find that a very odd word, because it really means you won't. So you find it within yourself. It comes in every walk of life. It can come in marriages, it can come in with parents, grandparents, grandchildren, it can come across the board. And at that point in time, you've fallen down. Now, you better get up. You have to get up. Ali said that, and then you are able to help others do it as well. And he said it very poignantly when we worked together as a messenger of peace for the UN. Muhammad Ali and I were appointed by Kofi Annan alongside Luciano Pavarotti and Michael Douglas, the actor, and so on. And he said, the service you do for others on earth is the rent you pay for a room in heaven. And those are powerful things that you can't just let go. It's got to touch you somewhere. And then I think those kinds of moments make you a better person, and resilience comes out of it.
Well, Vijay Amritraj, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Young Turks Reloaded podcast. We wish you the very best of luck with everything else that you intend to do. And thank you for making an impact on so many lives. It's been an absolute pleasure to speak with you.
Thank you so much. And you're absolutely terrific in doing interviews.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Well, with that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of the Young Turks Reloaded podcast. From all of us here on the team for now, goodbye. Many thanks for watching. We'll see you again shortly. Stay tuned to CNBC-TV18.